think it was after seeing Animal House was the first time I was like, this is really what I want to do. I just love the art of telling stories. And so, before I went to, in high school, actually, I had a couple film classes where we shot, and I actually did editing from VHS to VHS. And so it's just always been embedded in me, and I've always wanted to do it. My real editing started on an Avid Sony 450, cuts only. So that was sort of the process I learned. But within that, I learned insert edits. So I haven't been that stressed. I don't think I've ever had to worry about going from cut to cut to cut, which I'm kind of one of these hybrid people that in college there was a little cutting on film, but for the most part, I started on the 450 and basically non-linear editing with the Avid as soon as I got out of college. So I've never really learned the traditional way per se, but so I'm sort of the new breed. And I don't think that editing really works nowadays. I mean, obviously from a filmmaking standpoint, you can go back to these old movies, but the pacing just doesn't hold up nowadays for the most part. Obviously there's exceptions to the rule, but for the most part. It was more survival because we had these cuts-only machines in school. You'd be broke up into groups of 6, and everybody would do one discipline per project, but I was the only one that knew how to edit. So I ended up editing everyone's project as well as directing all that. And it was definitely something I gravitated towards because I think if you're a really strong writer and director, you can do that discipline, and I feel like I have those skills, but my skill was actually standing back and looking at a finished product and then figuring out editorial-wise how to make things work. So it's a sort of problem solving I've enjoyed. So basically I got a job at an ad agency cutting their in-house reels. And then they sent me on a run to a commercial editing house called Red Car. And so when I was doing the run, over someone's shoulder, I saw the Avid, and I freaked out. I was like, what the hell is that? And they were very cool. They showed me, and then the next day I asked for a job there, and I got a job there, and started as, in the vault, but worked my way up to an assistant, basically helping with music videos and commercials. I would, tell people, and I've heard this advice given, it's edit. There's no way to learn. At least I couldn't learn. Like, I used to sit behind, as an assistant and editor, and I would soak it all in. But until your hands are on the machine and you've experienced it, I don't see how it will sink in with you and how you'll be able to process it. So for me, I just tell people to edit and make mistakes. And it's the same for screenwriting, directing, whatever. You have to get the chops in, and you have to make mistakes, and you have to get stuck and really work with a deadline and be under pressure and just experience everything an editor does and get the reps in, and it becomes second nature because you have to keep working at the Avid so you're at a point where technically you're comfortable, so your brain is thinking aesthetically. It's almost like dribbling. Like, they don't want you to look at the ball when you dribble. You should be looking up to see where defense is. And it's the same for editing. I don't want to be encumbered with trying to know how to do things. I want to think how aesthetically I can make things look better. And that's by getting the reps in and knowing how to actually do a trim or extend edit, or actually cut and paste now, which is a great tool that the Avid has, and just be able to move things around quicker will help you. Getting on an Avid was easy. It was the drive space that was a bummer. There was just no drive space anywhere. We had these huge 9 or 1 gig drives. And so we could always get on, but we'd have to blow away whatever we did. So that was the tough part. And so we'd have to, every time I could get on at like midnight at wherever I was working when I was done doing my assisting duties. and then we would just have to blow away all the media and then just rebatch digitize every time I started. So there was basically an hour or two setup time before I could actually start cutting, and yeah, I was so excited to cut. That's the other thing. I mean, if it's in you and you want to be a filmmaker, this should interest you and you should be excited to edit. And I just wish I had this when I was in college, because I think I could have progressed as an editor so much quicker. For me, it was the music videos were very popular. That's how I cut my teeth on music videos. So I think other people might have been doing short stories or short films, but for me it was finding a band and saying, hey, let me shoot this video so I can edit it. And I think I used to shoot a lot of wedding videos on Super 8, because a lot of people, as far as getting your work shown, I had noticed a lot of people, because they knew I was in the business, was like, would you shoot my wedding video? Because they just think if you're in the business, you direct, edit everything. And I was also like, nobody wants to sit through your 30-minute wedding video, so if I do it, I'll do it as a music video. So I just would do things in 3-minute intervals, whether it was taking an existing song and shooting my own video for an existing song, or these wedding videos or stuff like that. That's how me personally. But I think back in the day, people would, I think they would shoot a lot more short films and then kind of just put it in front of people that were in the business. And when you're in this film community, I think you have people that are, everyone's passing their own films and everyone's supporting each other, and then somehow they get passed amongst each other. I'm not sure how these viral sensations somehow make it into the zeitgeist, but if you're good enough, people will see it. You know what I mean? If it's a strong enough piece of film, you can do that. And also I have a lot of, within the parents or community like that, things get passed along. We just send links. And but I think if it's strong enough, people will see it. If you want to be in film, this is the first step in the filmmaking process. Obviously, editing is the third time the script gets done, people say, and this is a way to actually make a film that people can actually sit through too, because if you work on the, on the Media Composer or the Media One, it's going to have a somewhat professional vibe to it already. You're using the exact same tools that the professionals are editing the movies that we see in the theaters on your laptop. I'm actually incredibly jealous, and it pisses me off a bit, that I didn't have this when I was, coming out of college. So, if you're into film, this, I shouldn't have to persuade you, but this is the best way. You're using what the pros work. If you eventually get a job in the business, you're going to have the skills needed, whenever you start this at the high school level that, the professionals are using. Most of the stuff you learn in college, once you get into the real workplace, everything's become antiquated, but this is actually going to have you ahead of the curve.